Hello and welcome our viewers to another segment of the Worcester Consumer Rights Program, a program that is here in Worcester and its neighboring towns and cities. My name is Biodun Akande and I have with me the pleasure of, actually Yafa, this is the first time you are with me on this program, right? So Yafa Fain, who is actually an assistant on the program. So we do run this program together. And this is the Worcester Consumer Rights Program, a program that works in cooperation with the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. I just have to say that they really support and give us grant to really make sure that this program is in our community. This program also advocates for the local consumers, as well as provide information that are beneficial, as well as provide educational materials on various consumer topics. And so this segment today is one of such segments that is also taping to commemorate the National Consumer Protection Week. Is that correct, Yafa?
Yes, so National Consumer Protection Week is coming up in March. It's March 4th through 10th, and we have several events occurring throughout the city. We have events at City Hall, as well as at the courthouse, at the library, and you can also stop by the WCIC or Worcester Community Action Council for some financial guidance there throughout this week.
So it's a week packed with activities, and I believe we are going to be hearing this program during the week of the 4th to the 10th. So without much ado, I do actually have a distinguished member of the business community with us today, who is an expert in the area that we're going to be discussing, consumer, auto, sales, and finance. And Ray Danishmand is actually a local business in our community. I believe Ray's business is located in Shrewsbury, which is actually under the coverage of our program. And Ray actually belongs to the Massachusetts Independent Auto Dealers Association. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Ray. Could you really kind of enlighten us and tell us a little bit about the MIADA, if that's the acronym for it?
It basically is designed to not just educate us with the laws, us as dealers, and also advocates protection for consumer, protection for dealers, how to basically follow the rules and regulations established in Massachusetts and throughout the country. Wow. And also we have many charities that we support, a lot of fundraisers, and it's a great organization, part of the NIADA, which is National Independent Auto Dealers Association.
Wow.
So there are certain rules and bylaws that we have to follow.
That is awesome. What do you say, Yaf? I think it's really awesome to have, to have the industry really provide the sort of checks and balances, to really hold itself accountable. I'm assuming that's part of what
100%. We want to. We have plenty of good dealers now, because in the past dealers had bad names. Now the rules and laws and how we have to back up everything. So again, MIDA oversees the whole thing and it comes up with policy, and we have to adhere to, and which is a wonderful organization.
Wow, thanks for sharing that with us. Thanks for sharing that with the members of public. We also have a member of the Worcester community by the name of Dean Fisher. Dean has been very gracious to partake in this program and sit on, so he can actually bring some of the concerns or questions that hopefully Ray will be able to answer for us and really kind of just educate the general public. You will agree with me, Yafa?
Yeah, we love to hear a consumer perspective from someone who had success.
Yes, absolutely. And so, Ray, if we may start with you, one of the Consumer Bill of Rights, or if you want to call it the definition of consumer rights, actually has to do with the right to safety. And what other industry could you bring the issue or topic of safety, more than the auto industry? And so one of the things that we typically, or that's a consistent theme when we hear consumer complaints, has to do with safety. When consumer really purchase a used auto, basically in Massachusetts, that auto has to go through what we call safety and emission checks before it receives a sticker and it's perceived to be safe to drive in the community. So from your experience, what are the processes that you think used car dealership have in place, or that the institution that we've just talked about put in place to ensure that used auto dealers are selling autos that are classified as safe for many of the wonderful consumers, many of them having children that will really ride in those vehicles, to just make sure that consumers are well informed and are served in a rightful manner.
I'm sure every dealer out there, they have their own procedure, but usually what we do, any vehicle, all the vehicles are, I shouldn't say all, 90% of the vehicles, whether it's in used car lots or new car dealerships, they all have been purchased at the auctions. Auctions are very strong, and that way they require good money to be paid up. However, when we buy the vehicles at the auction, we have a post-sale inspection, which we do. We try to make sure it's a good vehicle. Otherwise, auctions policy, that vehicle would be kicked back. So normally we end up with a pretty decent vehicles. However, every vehicle we go after, since the post-sale allows us 1 extra week. Every vehicle that comes to our shop, and I'm pretty sure every other shop, within that week they go through the shop. Our policy, within the first 3 days, they have to go. The technician checks it, check for frame, mechanical, and whatever is needed, because we have a sheet that he checks it out. But it's all the vehicles, oil and filters, almost unspoken, always done. But brake safety in our policy is if it's anywhere close to 1/3 life left. Even though we sell used vehicle, we put brand new. And again, it's much more cheaper for us to do it versus you put a bad comment for us. So it's basically, but again, the technician's job, it takes about 1.5 hours, 2 hours to go throughout the car, bumper to bumper, and check that list and let us know, let the management know, listen, this is needed, this is needed. And usually most places, including my place, the technician has every right to do whatever it needs to make sure, because with the today's safety inspection, it's very comprehensive right now. It takes about 45 minutes. No dealer can bypass that. It's on cameras now. So it's basically the 3 cameras everywhere. They take a plate number. There's no fudging it anymore, so if anybody could have done it before. And therefore, and again, when you take it over there, you cannot even drive it there. They have to drive it in there. The technician that is doing the inspection, his face is on the camera, on the picture. That goes checked by registry and dealer, Section 5 basically. And they check the front end, they connect the computer, because each vehicle has OBD, which is onboard diagnostic, and that has to be connected with the state computer. So if you have any kind of, some people think you can get the check engine light disappear or pull it out. It's impossible, because it's onboard computer. It doesn't care if the check engine light is on or not. If it fails, it will fail. They cannot pass it. And they would put a rejection sticker on it, and for 60 days, that car has to. However, if it's rejected, again, Attorney General has used a buyer's guide, the dealers are responsible. So it doesn't make too much sense for us to let a car go out bad, because we know it's going to come back. So therefore, we do every aspect of inspection in that 2 hours to make sure everything is addressed, whether it's wiper blade or check engine light, O2 sensor, etc., etc. So that aspect of the consumer lately, it's getting very, very good cars, very, very good used cars. New cars are unspoken, they're brand new, so they better be good. But again, and that aspect of the consumer is much, much better off with the laws and rules in Massachusetts versus, let's say, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
Pretty awesome. That's really informative. I mean, there are things that I'm learning today that I really, I've never really understood how the process works. And just as Ray mentioned, not everybody can actually afford a brand new vehicle. So we do have a need for those used auto dealership in our community. But one of the things that our program try to do is to strengthen our relationship with those auto dealers so that they can serve their community well. And also, so talking about safety as far as it relates to used vehicle, one of the common themes that we see YAFA would be the used check engine lights that even after it passes inspection, there are instances where those issues resurface. and then the consumer is typically lost in terms of whose responsibility it is to address that issue. Is that something that you can speak to, Ray?
Absolutely, and it's a very, very important issue. Consumers should be educated in that aspect, that every vehicle out there has roughly about 1,440 sensors. Now, check engine doesn't mean the engine is bad. Check engine is basically means the OBD, which is onboard diagnostic, is detecting one of the sensors malfunctioning. And we are in New England. In the winter and summer, even the cars that has gone through inspection through our shop, when they sit, with the snow, rain, the O2 sensor could go bad, but that's, the consumer has the protection. And I know in the buyer's guide, if because some consumers say, oh, check engine light came out. And check engine light came again for the same. Is a fallacy in that statement, because check engine light, once it could be O2 sensor. When we address the O2 sensor, for 1 year is warranty, that item is almost warranty from us. So it's basic, because we buy from the parts stores, that be reputable parts stores, and a lot of parts are warranted for 1 year. I mean, we can say labor is not, because it's not our fault if the part goes bad. But again, we have to honor that. But if your check engine light comes on, and you bring it to my shop, and I address it, because we connect our computer, which is a pretty good computer actually, to the computer on the vehicle. And basically the two computers communicate and tell them, one computer tells the other one a code. It's a CO code. So that code, we address that issue. We cannot address the other 1,430 other sensors.
I see.
So if we address that issue, we resolve that problem. Can something else happen? Murphy's Law. Let's respect that. But again, that's why even part of your bylaws at the Attorney General, if it comes for the same reason, check engine light is not the same reason. Different code is a different. So that is, some people think that, because check engine light comes out, let's say 90 days, 3 times, they can return the car. That's a false statement. That's not what Attorney General said, that the buyer's guide said. Check engine light could be, for example, if you fill up your gas tank, don't close the cap tight, check engine light 100% will come out.
Oh, wow.
And basically because the vehicle detects a leak. As simple as that. Or let's say if you have a turbo vehicle and you decide to put regular gas, the check engine, because you need a higher octane. So it could be something really small, but none of it is going to say that you need engine, because if you needed engine, the vehicle would not pass inspection. If you need a transmission, the vehicle would not, because the code would be transmission code. The code would be, let's say, cylinder 5 misfire. Misfire, for example, in the wintertime, it could be a coil pack. It could be a spark plug. So we are given as the opportunity to remedy the situation. And if we do that, and then it's basically, I believe, being part of this organization for 25 years, being in this business, there are a lot of good dealers. The consumers are far better off right now than they were 15, 20 years ago. And a lot has to do to MIADA, a lot has to do with Attorney General, because I always tell our customer, you're better off to buy from Massachusetts or Connecticut, out of the 6 states, because you are protected. If the vehicle that we buy, I mean, in our facility, every vehicle, if you go to our website, we provide a Carfax. However, we have to disclose to you. That's why the technician has to, auction has to. That's why we do the post-sale. If it's a frame damage, it has a different value. So consumer looks at the bottom line, this is this much. Listen, you're definitely going to get a frame value or accident car cheaper.
Just to redirect the question a little bit towards Dean, and I do thank you for really, bringing us through that process and making us really understand what some of the details, relate to. On a personal end, or probably from the perspective of our program, I don't believe that a lot of consumers, may agree with the information that you're giving us, and I guess where my question is going is, as a member of the community, then do you think that consumers are working, or that dealers are working together with consumers to really educate them and make them understand this, so that the frustration that ensues after some of these, components, or some of this comes into play, is taken care of from the beginning?
Yeah. No, I think for me, I've been buying cars for so many. I probably have purchased maybe 35 or 40, some new,
Oh, wow.
some used. I have children that are in the role of buying cars, so I have some experience with dealing with dealers, and also private from purchasing cars from family members. To me, my first car was purchased from my brother. So I had a lot of mixed bag of feelings of what I was doing. I think the time of the emotion, whether or not as me as a consumer, it's an exciting. It's I think one of the hugest purchases that we can make, other outside of a home. A car is a huge investment. The industry has changed, without a doubt. And I do believe that the information in terms of Massachusetts, we can feel comfortable as a consumer because we have a lot more protection or a lot more information or resources of information. Now, whether we use it is a different story.
Absolutely.
Because I think also there is a area of responsibility that belongs on us as a consumer to educate, to get involved, to find out what we're doing before we do it. Because I think in some of the situations I've been in, it's an emotional time. You're excited about getting a car. It's like I said, it's a huge purchase. And we spend a lot of time in our vehicles. A lot of people live and drive from day to day. Where before it was a luxury, now it's turning to be a necessity in terms of prices, the prices of taxi cab. Worcester, in the dynamics of its transportation, you need a vehicle. You need a vehicle to work, take the children to the hospital, whatever the function may be, going to school. And I think that there's experience that you need to know. And I always concern myself because I know there's an emotional part of it that really, the excitement of getting a vehicle. But then when something goes wrong and you didn't do that homework and you didn't prepare yourself, then that motion from being excited turns to personalized.
Different experience.
And it doesn't allow us to manage the issues through our mind. We end up battling with emotion, so it becomes personal. And it can really, really derail you. For me as a consumer, the best thing I found out is that you have to do your diligent work. You have to go look online. You have to understand what Carfax is. What is Carfax? Is it the true facts of the car? No, it's not. And it's only what the person reports. So if the person doesn't report it, it doesn't appear on Carfax. You got to know what your options are. Also, through your family members or someone else who have experience buying cars, it's good. Get to know the dealer. Go out, question, research, and don't go by yourself. And we have something today that we didn't have back in the day. Technology. There's so much resources of information. YouTube. Just put Google. I want to learn how to purchase a car. And you would not believe what pops up.
Wow.
That the information, how to get informed. And some of the things too, the interest rate, credit, finance, and I know you guys touched on that.
It's so funny you're going into that. As a matter of fact, if I didn't know any better, I would think you actually look into Yafa's chit chat, because these are part of the things that we were discussing today, and Yafa actually has a series of, I'm not sure if you want to point to a couple of them, of the do's and don'ts that Yafa was able to kind of put down together in terms of really educating the general public. And so Dean is absolutely right. I think we have to sometimes detach from the emotional, which is pretty difficult, but do the groundwork. I believe one of your points, Yafa, if you want to go over a couple of your do's and don'ts.
Yeah, Dean definitely touched on several of the things that we've been emphasizing to consumers. So we've highlighted the fact that consumers have to do their background information and research. Also, you made a great point. Referring to other people is really helpful in this process. So bringing a family member or a friend or someone trusted to the dealership, but also to look through the paperwork that you're filing throughout this process, that's really important. And then also something that the Consumer Bill of Rights emphasizes is that we have a right to be informed consumers. So maybe something that Ray could touch on further is how people can ask their financial advisors or other people that are related to them to bring resources to this process.
Well, they're welcome to do that. We don't stop any consumer from going and educating themselves. That's wonderful. Educated consumers actually we like that because it's less work for us in that respect that they know the rates, they know the credit score. The credit score is a very big thing because some people look at Credit Karma. One of the things about Credit Karma has nothing to do with cars or houses. Credit Karma is always higher because it's basically your credit card, your student loan, stuff like that is basically, it's like 50, 60 points high. We pull basically from the credit bureau and we get the FICO auto score. And that is usually lower. So the banks and financial institutions lend based on those rates. Now, we don't work for the banks. So we have, I have tons of part of Cuddle and a couple of different banks, and larger banks like Wells and, but basically the rate is reflected. However, when you say educate the customer, because sometimes the customers go and they don't go based on rate or anything of that nature. They go and say, I can afford $300. Now that is the biggest mistake they make, because 300 is different when it's 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So that is and again, we are a family business, and major corporation salespeople come and go. Again, they don't have to stand behind it as much because they want to make the commission and run. And the more gross they make, because the front end of the cars are not that much anymore. It's very competitive. Even new car dealers, if you look at the front line of all of them, they all have used cars. So they are used car dealers now. So because what they are doing basically is it's profitable for them because they have the service department. They have the financing. So you can make the financing by some people, and that's why I said don't look at for the lowest prices, because if they force you to get financing through them, they can make that on the back end, they call it. So those are the things that they, again, they should know their score. What we do in front of them, they have to authorize it. Nobody can pull your credit. Do not allow them to send it to 20 different banks. Definitely will affect your score. You want somebody to go only, if you're going to allow it, one bank or two banks. You should know, because we basically pull the credit in front of the customer. We say, that's your score. We're going to send it to two banks. Because if they're bombarded, too many inquiries, the bank, then they're forced to go with that dealership because that was the first dealership. They're trying to keep the consumer out of the market.
Yeah.
And that way they have to buy it from them. Because everybody else, their bank's going to reject it because too many inquiries. I don't want to touch. Why not? None of the other those banks gave them extended credit towards that.
So what I'm hearing from you, Ray, just going on Yafa's point, is that you're really saying to our consumers, do not go without a financing offer. Is it more easier to really talk to your primary bank that you have a financial relationship with?
You can do that, but again, Yafa and Mr. Fisher mentioned, it's okay to go and meet with the dealership, see if you like them. I mean, a salesperson, their job is sales. They got to take the money out of your pocket to put in their pocket. That's their job. That's how they make livelihood.
Interesting.
No, that's basically. So they have no, especially major, again, whomever is going to see this from major corporations is going to say this is an independent for sure. But we compete with them. We stand next to the individual buying for biggest organization around here. We have to be $100 more. So the prices are pretty much sure. Everybody scans the vehicle, so prices are pretty much a standard. In front end, everybody knows in the industry you don't make much. I mean, because so many cars out there, everybody knows how much you bought it. With all the internet that you mentioned, everybody knows how much you buy and how much. So, and if somebody's selling it below everybody else, then there's a little bit more to the silver lining in that. So I would never go with the lowest price. I perhaps won't go with the highest price. I'll try to find, but again, sure, what Dean said, go and check the dealership, see if you like those, because you gotta be able to go back there. You gotta see. One of the things, when I opened the place 23 years ago, I had a lot of black hair and I was handsome like Dean, But as time, but the constant fact has been, I have been there and my kids been there from day one. So if they come back, the salesmen come and go. You're always there, so you have to stand behind the product and what your services, and that's why it has been successful for us to be in the industry.
So then, what has been your experience because I know you've been through many transactions that you mentioned. What has been your experience, especially when it comes to financing? What sort of pressure do you think you've gone through, and what would be your simple hint to members of the public?
I've gone in not looking at my credit score. I've gone in after purchasing, learning, understanding what my credit score is, using Credit Karma, because Credit Karma is it's awareness, I think, for the consumer. It is only, I think it's through experience. So it's only one, and that's why it's exaggerated. Where most of your credit scores will come from either two. They try to use two of the other agencies to come up with a common credit score. Know your score is so important, but not even that. It's coming to find out of what is interest rate. What does it mean? Just learning simple financial principles of the law of 72. Understanding what that means. Meaning divide the 72 by any interest rate, and that's how long it takes for that money to double. Then you understand how the dealer makes money. You'll see, and you'll be able to understand about your money in terms of why the interest rate is so important, why that is so.
I question, because it's not the dealer that's making the interest on that. It's basically the bank. However, dealers that you allow them, the certain dealers use their own financing. And that is the part that I would strongly recommend take a double look at that.
Okay.
Because simple fact is, because they put at smaller prices, but if you go to certain dealers, they said this price is, which is, I think, that should be illegal based on the rules and regular, because that's price gouging, I think. Because they said if you don't buy it from us, that price is if only you finance through us. And that's a false statement that consumers should know. They have the right to go to anywhere they want.
Thank you for that information. I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, you can go in. Basically, I don't have. We can in Massachusetts to become a bank, get a banking license as a dealer, but again, consumer has every right to walk out of that door, go to their own bank.
So what I'm hearing is be prepared to walk out.
You don't have to. If you know a score, maybe it is good to go to two dealerships and see what is the other place offering you for rate.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole thing. But again, the best thing you said in that respect, that I can relate to, that as a consumer, bring somebody else. Two minds is always better than one. So it's basically see if the guy makes sense on the other side. Because at the end, I'm a sales organization. I got to sell in order to put food on the table. So, but I got to make. It's okay to make something better than nothing, and you don't have to go for the gusto, So it's something, and that's why I think our longevity has been based on that, because people refer us to other people, and we try to, and we show everything. And please, 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 read the paperwork that you sign.
Thank you. We're gonna get into that in a minute. We're gonna get into that in a minute.
Please,
Thank you very much for that information.
Important.
I know Yafa has a point to make.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's exactly what we were talking about in terms of buyer guide ideas, is just to read what you're signing to make sure you're agreeing to things. While you're signing them, you shouldn't sign something you don't agree with. Also, being aware of what your insurance will cover is important. That's someone you should talk to before making a purchase to understand what coverage you have. And then something we also want to remind people is that they have the right to walk away if they haven't found the purchase that they want to make that day, if it's not a deal they feel comfortable with. Consumers should feel comfortable leaving, taking some time to think about these things, and consult people they trust.
Thank you. So if you're just tuning in, this is the Worcester Consumer Rights Program, a program of the Attorney General of Massachusetts. We sit in the City Hall in Worcester. We are very grateful to the city manager for actually bringing this program. This program has been so resourceful to members of the public. It's so surprising when I started on the program that we have not had a program such as this in our community for the past about, I think it's going on 16 years before we were able to bring this program back to Worcester. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people that we've, kind of give some education to or kind of assist them when they fall into similar pitfall, would really say that the program has been very helpful, and it's a much needed program in our community.
I agree. My daughter was looking for a car last year, and she wanted to do it independently of me. I shared my experience. I don't want you to get harmed as I have. I don't want you to learn the lessons I had learned because it's such, I think that emotional element, it's a very important buy in your life. You're excited about it. It's a chance to gain your independence. And I think that we need to take the time to breathe and educate ourselves on what we're going to buy, how we're going to answer all those questions. And if not, find someone who can. And because we know we're in tax season, taxes are coming.
Absolutely.
And I think that is when you get taxes, you want to get a vehicle, and you have to think about the insurance, what you're going to pay. And the used car industry has changed too. I mean, one time the industry got soaked up when one of the presidents asked for you get cash for clunkers. That really drained the used car industry. And then now the used car industry is right now it's in full, there's so much available. So there's a lot out there. So there's a lot of things you have to work through as a consumer. For me, I think the most important thing is your education, is impulse buying, understanding your emotional element when you go in to purchase. Know what you're getting. You have the opportunity to do the work before you get there. The best way to solve a problem is not to get in one.
Absolutely.
And you got to be able to arm yourself, prepare yourself, so that way you can take the emotional part out of it, and that you can make a business transaction, because I think it's one of the most important purchases in our lifetime.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to budgeting, if I can quickly pitch into that, I know one of the things that resonate with me is the budgeting, and I think Ray actually alluded to it also. I think a lot of customers or a lot of consumers are going out there and really, fairly saying to the dealers, this is all I can afford, just to piggyback on what you said. And it's so easy when we say, do not do that, but, that they want to be truthful. Because in many cases, I do think that, the consumers are putting their trust on the hands of a dealer and saying, Ray, this is all I can afford. I can only afford $250. Could you give me a car or an auto or a vehicle that will drive me for so many miles? So what would be your advice?
Well, because that
or your suggestion?
$250, to me, it depends on your credit score, and again, to any dealer, actually. If you have a good credit, it's about $18 per thousand. So it's every $1,000 is $18, $17.
In terms of interest cost.
Interest, so $17, $16 if you have excellent credit. If you have so-so credit, maybe $19, $20. If you have a really bad credit, because certain areas it's not the banks anymore, you go to a finance company, and that's when you have credit scores below 550. And credit scores below 550 could be $25 for the same car. So if it's a $10,000 car, it's $250. Now it's a $10,000 car with somebody with good credit, it's $160.
Wow.
That's a 5 year. I always calculate based on 5 years. Yeah. Now you want to take 1 year off, it's $50 less. For the good credit, about for the bad credit. So that's the part. But again, the truth of the matter is, don't ever go to the place that says $189 a month. This is my opinion again. Anything that I talk today is my opinion. Because $189 for how long? because 189 for 5 years is 10,000. For 6 years is almost about 14,000. For 7 years is 18,000. So how much you want the dealer to make?
Absolutely.
Because you signed the bottom line. That's why I said read the numbers. And very simple. Just ask for 1 second as a consumer. Please, can I borrow your calculator? What is 72 times 450? 72 times 450 is 30,000. I'm buying an $18,000 car. What's going on? Why $12,000? Don't you ever ask that question?
Wow. No,
That is good information, Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I mean, it's basically, they calculate every dealer, every finance manager, everybody has on the desk. So that's why I said read the paperwork. So you say, because under law 533 said 72 months, right under the interest rate, so 72 months at, let's say, 450, first payment start, let's say, in April 1st. So if you have 72 payments at 500, let's go with 400. That's 30 grand. That's $28,800. How could you pay on a $10,000 or $15,000 car that much? So don't go based on what they put on the window, because that's the easiest way to clean it.
And it's really misleading.
And you will, especially people who cannot afford it, because they want a car so bad.
And it's so funny. I really don't call them the people who cannot afford it. I call them people who are vulnerable.
Okay,
So
fair.
so sometimes it's fair to assume that vulnerable people can be easily taken advantage
you
of.
definitely put the right word on it. Vulnerable people, because simple fact, now they owe 6 years on a car that has, let's say, 70,000 miles. 6 year average mileage of 15. The car is not going to last. Don't get me wrong, the car will last that long, but you got to pay because wear and tear.
Yeah, wear and tear.
And therefore, what happens in the year 3 or 4, the car has 140,000 miles, and every month it's in a shop $300, $400. It's a time for to get rid of it. But rule of 78 applies because you pay the interest, most of the interest up front.
Wow.
So now, out of 18,000, you still owe $10,000. The car worth $3,000. So you're upside down. So vulnerable people, that upside down for the rest of your life is going to carry with you.
I think we have to bring Ray back on the program another time. Would you agree with me? Yeah.
Ray is our local expert.
This
is
is
helpful.
so awesome. Do you have a point to make, Dane,
Yeah,
before
he's
we...
given a great understanding of how the industry works and
Yes.
how we as consumers, because a lot of those commercials out there, $99 a week,
Oh, yes.
$28. There's a lot of misleading things out there.
Misleading
And we as consumers have to get educated to understand that. I mean, if it's not clearly written, we need to figure out how. And we need to educate ourselves because it's a huge process. And when you get engaged, so that way you can avoid after looking for the Attorney General or other resources, because that process, and I went through that process as well, it's not an easy process, and nor is the court system. Small claims, it can be dragged on for years and years. You want to really...
Can I interject into that one, because that part of it, since everybody's watching, and this is for consumer protection, please work with your dealers. Dealers don't like to go to court. They don't have the time to court. They don't want the bad write-up. We want to make it work. But don't do it the wrong way by going to the media first, to internet and posting things that are bad-mouthing the dealer, because at that time it's too late, because we want to prevent that part. We don't need that. It's basically, dealers want to take care of it, as long as you're within reason. It is difficult to get rid of a noise, then you cannot bring it to the mechanic, and the mechanic cannot hear a noise.
Absolutely.
I mean, what would you fix? Please, I mean, some people's expectation, you said something wicked early, said that, basically, bring your expectation down. Go with 2 people. Listen, what he's saying, don't get into clash, because nobody wants to get into clash. We're too old for that stuff. It's basically, and there's no court system that we like to go. It's because simply too much time, too much. At the end, our attorney wins, not us. Neither party will win, because of simple fact, it cost. And
It's too... Yeah, the cost is greater than...
it is, and it's and
the
God
end.
bless the attorneys, their brothers and sisters always, they said and at the end, who are we? Because basically they keep on dragging the case for their own benefits, and no disrespect to attorneys, but
Thank you.
I like to have him as a friend, but not as somebody to defend me.
Thank you. So I want to thank both of you for really coming on the show. This has really been very, very informative. I think you'll agree with me, Yafa. It's been very, very informative. I think we'll find another program to bring Ray back.
Yes.
The National Consumer Protection Week is the week of the 4th until the 10th of March, which is just coming up. You can actually contact us if you need more information in terms of what we do and how we assist and advocate for consumers in the community. The number to our office is, I can never remember it, so I'm going to ask for Yafa's assistance.
We're 508-799-8486, and as Mr. B stated, we're housed in City Hall on the first floor in room 101.
In room 101. So, if you have any issue, and it's not every time that we really want to get engaged in a tug of war with the dealers. That's why we are inviting people or small businesses within our community to come on the program and really do what you just did for us. So I really thank you very much for your time, Ray. Dean, sharing your experiences I think is pretty informative. We'll look for another opportunity to bring you back on the program. And so this is where the buck stops. Thank you for actually tuning in. Until the next time when we come again with another consumer topic on the program, it's goodbye for now.
Thank you.